Hello, everyone. I'm Michelle Deuling, and I am going to read to you a couple of stories. Starting off today with one that is from God's Rainbow of Love that was written by my daughter, Vanessa, and I back in March of 2003. I don't know if you can see that or not, but we just put these little books together, and these were some lessons that we thought were fun, and we decided to write. So I'm just going to read that to you, okay? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Our verse that this is from is Matthew 7:12. Therefore, all things whatsoever ye would that men should do to you, do ye even so to them. For this is the law and the prophets. Today's story is about a famous star that shines in Rankleville. Randy picked up the basketball and started to dribble across the gym floor. Swoosh! Once again, the star player brought the fans to their feet. Randy was no beginner on the basketball court, and today his talent was shining as bright as ever. If only he was as gifted with his attitude, was the sentiment of most who knew him well. As Randy called out a string of insults about Rodney, his friends were reminded again of his rudeness. Rodney was a well liked guy, although not one of the best players on the Comet ball team. Once again, a slight error had caused him to be the focus of Randy's insults. After the game, Eric, one of Randy's closest friends, caught up to him. Congratulations on the excellent game, Randy. You were awesome, exclaimed Eric. Yeah, no thanks to some of the losers on our team. Man, I couldn't believe it when Rodney missed that rebound. Man, I wanted to use his head for the next shot, replied the outraged Randy. Come on, Randy, give the guy a break. Sometimes you are so rude to the other guys, commented Eric. So if they don't like it, they don't have to take up my space, retorted Randy. As the guys went their own way, Eric offered up a silent prayer for his friend. He prayed that Randy would see just how much his rudeness was hurting others. However, the next day in school, it seemed things were only getting worse. Now, it seemed the teacher was taking the brunt of Randy's tongue. Eric didn't hear the beginning of the problem, but he did see the end of it. A very frustrated Mr. Barnes left the room, and a very proud Randy remained to entertain the class. Once again, Eric began praying for Randy. It appeared that Randy was making a big announcement. Evidently, he had been given a pretty special birthday treat. He was sharing how he had been invited to meet the world's biggest basketball hero, the Big Dipper, as he was called, could outshoot, out rebound, and trounce all over any defensive man around. He was worth over $2 billion and lived every bit of it. Randy was thrilled as the day of meeting grew closer. What better birthday present could a guy ask for? Randy was scheduled to meet his hero at 2 o'clock for some pictures, ride in his limo to one of the most expensive hangout restaurants in the country, and then go for a Coke and ice cream with the Big Dipper before attending the ball game that night. But what Randy really thought was the coolest was that he was going to get to sit on the team bench with his hero for the whole game. The anticipation was almost too much. Finally, the big day arrived. Randy set off for a fun filled day. At 2 o'clock, Randy was sitting in the designated spot waiting. At 2:15, he was still waiting. 2:30, 3, 3:30, he was still waiting. It wasn't until 3:47 that the limo carrying the Big Dipper finally arrived. Cameras were in place by 3:55 and the photo session began. However, the Big Dipper wouldn't even look at Randy, much less speak to him. Randy did, however, get to hear him speak. He heard his crude remarks and insults that were being slung at everyone that was around. Finally, the shots were taken. After the manager spoke to the Big Dipper, he went over to talk to Randy. He informed Randy that some changes needed to be made. It was necessary that they skip a few of the planned activities. They wouldn't be going to the hangout, and Coke and ice cream were out of the question. They would need to head straight to the gym because somebody needed to suit up and prepare mentally for the game. He would also need to find a ride in one of the camera trucks because there just wasn't enough room for him in the limo this time. After all was said and done, Randy was pretty relieved that he was going to be able to go to the game at all, and the manager assured him that he would still be able to sit on the bench. On the ride to the game, Randy continued to think about the changes and how rude he had been treated. It was then that the words of Eric came back to him. All through the game, Randy noticed the way that the Big Dipper insulted and bullied the others. He also noticed that he didn't have too many friends. Sure, the fans screamed for him, but that was it. Randy thought about these things all through the game. After Randy reached home that night, he noticed his Bible on the dresser. He opened it up to Matthew chapter 7. When Randy got to verse 12, he paused and reread the verse. Therefore, all things whatsoever ye would that men should do to you, do ye even so to them. For this is the law and the prophets. Randy thought about that verse for a while. He decided he needed to make some changes in his life. First, he admitted his attitude was bad. He had been so rude and proud. Then he asked God to forgive him. Then he determined to make some changes in his life, beginning by doing what Jesus wanted instead of what Randy wanted. He made a list of people that he needed to apologize to so that he could begin letting Jesus run things his way. He knew that it would be Jesus that would make the difference. So, what are some areas in your life that Jesus wants to help you change? Is there anyone you know who you could pray for, like Eric did? This week, take some time every day to ask God what He wants to do in your life. Practice Matthew 7:12. Take some time to read Matthew 19:13 through 15. In this story, who was being rude? Were they meaning to be rude? How did Jesus respond to their rudeness? Can children come to know Jesus? Do you think that God can place his hands on children today? Who do you want to be like in this story? For a bonus, read Psalm 119:11 and write out what it means to you. So here are the questions again. Woo. I'll try to type those out for you so that you can see them all. Okay? And thank you for listening. Michelle Deuling with One Story from God's Rainbow of Love. This was the story that Vanessa helped me write on rudeness.